Introduction. Why we need to talk about stress. Today we are talking about stress. Not the stress of one bad day, but the kind of stress that quietly builds up and slowly affects sleep, mental health, and the joy of everyday life. Dale Carnegie once wrote something very simple, yet very powerful. Our life is what our thoughts make it. And that sentence alone explains why stress is not just about events, but about how the mind reacts to them. Chapter 1. Stress does not start in the calendar. Many people believe stress comes from work, deadlines, or responsibility, but two people can live through the exact same day, and only one of them goes to bed exhausted and restless. Why? Dale Carnegie believed that stress is not created by situations themselves, but by the way we think about them. He wrote, "It isn't the events themselves that disturb us, but the thoughts we have about those events. Stress, in other words, begins in the mind." A simple Carnegie-style story. A man constantly complained about his job. Too much work, too little appreciation, endless pressure. One day a friend asked him, "If you quit tomorrow, what would you do first?" The man answered without hesitation, "I would finally sleep." And that was the real problem. The job did not steal his sleep. His thoughts did. Chapter 2. Sleep is not a luxury. It's nervous system care. Dale Carnegie spoke often about fatigue. He believed that many worries are not psychological problems, but symptoms of exhaustion. He once said, "In essence, fatigue magnifies our problems. A tired mind thinks poorly. A tired mind overreacts. A tired mind turns small issues into big ones." Sleep is not about comfort. It is about mental hygiene. A small but honest truth. A well-rested person says, "Let us deal with this tomorrow." A sleep-deprived person says, "This is a disaster." Same situation, different nervous system. Chapter 3. Living in day-tight compartments. One of Dale Carnegie's most famous ideas is the concept of living in day-tight compartments. The idea is simple. Today is today. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not arrived yet. Most people carry yesterday's mistakes, tomorrow's fears, and today's responsibilities, all at the same time. No nervous system can handle that. Carnegie said, "Live in day-tight compartments." A visual image. Imagine a cabinet with drawers. Each drawer is one day. In the morning, you open only today's drawer. In the evening, you close it. Not perfectly, but intentionally. Stress often comes from opening all the drawers at once. Chapter 4. When worry steals sleep. Many people lie awake at night thinking about problems they cannot solve at that moment. Dale Carnegie would have said, "That is like trying to change a tire at night, without tools, in the dark." Night is not for problem solving. Night is for recovery. Carnegie's advice for nighttime worry. His approach was practical. Define the problem clearly. Write it down. Decide. Act today or later. Then let it rest. Thoughts don't need to be solved at night. They need to be organized. Chapter 5. Accept the worst and calm the mind. One of Carnegie's most powerful methods sounds strange at first. He advised people to ask, "What is the worst realistic outcome?" Not to scare yourself, but to remove uncertainty. Once the worst is clearly defined, the fear often loses its power. Carnegie suggested, identify the worst-case scenario. Accept it mentally, then calmly improve the situation. Acceptance reduces stress because resistance disappears. A touch of humor. Most of the things we worry about never happen, and the things that do happen are rarely as bad as we imagined. In modern language, we often suffer from problems that never make it onto the calendar. Chapter 6. If life gives you lemons. Dale Carnegie loved simple metaphors. One of the most famous is, if life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Not because lemons are great, but because resistance drains energy. Stress often comes not from the problem itself, but from fighting reality. A short story. One man complained endlessly about the rain. Another used the rain to water his garden. Same rain, different outcome. Chapter 7. Reducing stress does not mean avoiding problems. Carnegie did not promote escape. He promoted clear action. Worry paralyzes. Action releases tension. He believed that busy, purposeful people worry less because their energy moves forward, not because they have no problems, but because they don't live inside them. Transition to part 2. So far, we've learned stress begins in thinking. Sleep is essential. Worry needs structure. Acceptance creates calm. In the next part, we will talk about self-criticism, fear of other people's opinions, gratitude as a stress counterweight, and why humor can save the nervous system.
One of the strangest things about worry is how convincing it sounds. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It speaks calmly, almost responsibly. It says things like, "You should think about this. Better be prepared. What if something goes wrong?" And before you know it, your mind is working overtime while your body is begging for rest. Dale Carnegie noticed this long ago. He observed that worry often disguises itself as responsibility. People believe that by worrying, they are being careful, thoughtful, even wise. But Carnegie would gently disagree. He believed that worry without action is not responsibility at all. It is simply mental noise pretending to be useful. He once wrote about people who replay the same concern again and again, as if repetition itself could produce a solution. But the mind doesn't work that way. Thinking the same thought 100 times does not make it deeper. It only makes it louder. And loud thoughts are terrible roommates at night. That is why Carnegie spoke so much about decision-making. Not because decisions are always correct, but because indecision keeps the nervous system trapped. An undecided mind stays alert. A decided mind can rest. Even a wrong decision, Carnegie argued, often brings more peace than endless hesitation. Because once a decision is made, the mind finally knows what to do with the problem. There is a quiet relief in clarity. He illustrated this with countless stories. Business owners, parents, students, doctors, different lives, same pattern. The moment they stopped circling the problem and chose a direction, their sleep improved. Not because the problem disappeared, but because the mind stopped spinning. Another thing Carnegie understood deeply was the damage caused by constant self-criticism. Many people live with an inner voice that never rests. A voice that points out every mistake, every delay, every imperfection. Carnegie noticed that this voice often sounds helpful, but behaves like a strict judge who never leaves the courtroom. He believed that excessive self-criticism drains energy faster than failure itself. Mistakes happen, but reliving them endlessly does not improve the future. It only poisons the present. Carnegie once said something that surprised many readers. Most people don't need more discipline. They need more kindness toward themselves. A person who is constantly mentally punished never truly recovers, even during rest. And without recovery, stress becomes chronic. Then there is the fear of other people's opinions, a classic source of sleepless nights. Carnegie observed that people often suffer more from imagined judgment than from real consequences. They lie awake worrying about what others might think, what they might say, how they might react. And yet, Carnegie reminded his readers of a simple truth. Most people are far too busy thinking about themselves to think about us for very long. He liked to joke that if we truly understood how little attention others pay to us, we would sleep much better. This fear of judgment keeps the nervous system on edge. It creates a constant sense of being watched, evaluated, measured. No organism can relax under those conditions. Carnegie encouraged people to let go of the impossible task of controlling other people's opinions. You cannot manage every thought in someone else's head, but you can manage how much space you give those imagined thoughts in your own. And then comes gratitude, one of Carnegie's most misunderstood ideas. He did not mean fast positivity. He did not mean pretending everything is fine. He meant attention. The mind cannot be fully grateful and fully anxious at the same time. Gratitude gently shifts focus from what is missing to what is already present. Carnegie believed that many people are unhappy, not because they lack things, but because they overlook what they already have. And overlooked resources don't support the nervous system. Acknowledged ones do. This doesn't eliminate problems, but it changes the emotional background against which problems appear. A stressed mind sees obstacles. A calmer mind sees options. Carnegie also spoke often about energy management. Long before it became a popular concept, he noticed that people tried to solve emotional problems while physically exhausted. It's like trying to fix a complex machine with empty batteries. He believed that rest should come before analysis, not after. Sleep first, then perspective, because the same problem looks very different to a rested brain. He once joked that many people would solve half their worries by simply going to bed earlier. And he wasn't wrong. Another quiet but powerful idea in Carnegie's work was his respect for humor. Not sarcasm, not mockery, but genuine humor. The ability to see oneself clearly and gently. Humor breaks tension. It reminds the nervous system that not everything is a threat. Carnegie noticed that people who could laugh at their own mistakes recovered faster from stress. They didn't carry errors like heavy luggage. They set them down. And finally, adaptation. Carnegie never promised that life would stop handing out lemons. He simply suggested that fighting reality wastes energy. You can complain about the lemons all night, or you can decide what to do with them. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means alignment with facts. Once people stopped arguing with what already existed, their stress levels dropped noticeably. They slept better. They reacted more calmly. They regained a sense of control, not over life, but over their response to it. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson Carnegie offered. Worry doesn't disappear because life becomes easy. It fades when the mind stops demanding certainty, perfection, and control. Peace comes not from a problem-free life, but from a mind that knows when to rest. And maybe that is why his ideas still work today. Because human nature hasn't changed. We still carry too much into the night. We still confuse worry with responsibility. And we still forget that the mind, like the body, needs time to recover. There is a particular kind of stress that Dale Carnegie understood better than most people. It is not the loud stress of emergencies or disasters. It is the quiet stress of trying to control everything. You know this kind of stress. It's the stress that wakes you up at 3 in the morning to remind you of a conversation from 6 years ago. The stress that says, you should have said something smarter. Oh, what if this goes wrong? Or my personal favorite. Everyone probably noticed. Carnegie once observed that the human mind is remarkably creative when it comes to worry. If there is nothing to worry about today, the mind will happily borrow something from tomorrow. He used to joke that if worry were a job, many people would deserve overtime pay. One of his favorite examples involved a man who constantly worried about his health. Every ache meant something terrible. Every headache was a sign of doom. So Carnegie asked him, very calmly, how many of the things you worried about last year actually happened? The man thought for a moment and said, well, almost none of them. Carnegie smiled and replied, and yet you suffered through all of them. That sentence alone could save years of stress. Because worry, as Carnegie saw it, is a strange kind of imagination. It imagines pain in advance. It rehearses disaster, and then it calls itself preparation. But preparation leads to action. Worry leads to exhaustion. There is a big difference. Carnegie loved pointing out that nature itself doesn't worry. A tree doesn't lie awake at night thinking, what if winter comes again this year? It simply does what trees do. And somehow, it survives. Humans, on the other hand, worry about winter in July. Another classic Carnegie story involved a woman who could not sleep because she worried constantly about what people thought of her. She replayed conversations in her mind, searching for mistakes. She imagined criticism that was never spoken. Carnegie asked her to do a small experiment. For 1 week, he said, observe how much time other people actually spend thinking about you. Not guessing, observing. A week later, she returned and said, almost embarrassed, they were too busy thinking about themselves. Exactly. Carnegie believed that most of our stress comes from imaginary audiences. We perform for people who aren't watching. We explain ourselves to judges who aren't listening. And that constant performance keeps the nervous system in a permanent state of alert. No wonder sleep disappears. Then there is the stress of perfection. Carnegie noticed that perfectionists rarely rest. Even when they succeed, they move the finish line. He once wrote that many people exhaust themselves trying to be flawless in a world that does not reward flawlessness, only progress. He liked to tell the story of a man who delayed every decision because he wanted to be absolutely certain. Eventually, the man became famous, not for his achievements, but for his indecision. Carnegie's lesson was gentle but firm. Life rewards movement, not perfection. Even a wrong decision often brings relief, because the mind finally stops spinning. And spinning minds do not sleep. Carnegie also had a deep respect for rest. Real rest. Not collapsing on the couch with a racing mind. Not scrolling until exhaustion, but rest that actually allows the nervous system to shut down. He believed many people were not weak, anxious, or fragile. They were simply tired. Very tired. He once joked that half of the world's problems could be solved if people would go to bed an hour earlier. And he wasn't too far off. A tired brain sees threats everywhere. A rested brain sees options. That is why Carnegie always encouraged people to deal with worries after rest. Not before. Sleep first. Perspective later. Then there is humor. One of Carnegie's secret weapons. He noticed that people who could laugh at their mistakes recovered faster. They didn't turn errors into identities. They said, well, that was awkward. Instead of, this proves I am a failure. Big difference. Carnegie believed humor was emotional flexibility. And flexibility is the opposite of stress. Rigid minds break. Flexible minds bend. He once told a story about a man who spilled coffee on an important document right before a meeting. Instead of panicking, the man said, well, at least the coffee enjoyed the presentation. The tension vanished. The meeting went on. Stress dissolved. Not because the problem disappeared, but because the response changed. And finally, the lemons. Carnegie returned to this idea often, because it captured something essential. Life will give you lemons. That part is not optional. The only real choice is whether you argue with the lemons, or do something with them. He never claimed lemonade fixes everything, but he understood something important. Fighting reality consumes enormous energy. Acceptance, on the other hand, frees energy. Once people stopped saying, this shouldn't be happening, and started saying, this is happening. Now what? Their stress levels dropped. Not because life became easier, but because resistance ended. Carnegie's entire philosophy could be summarized very simply. Carry only what belongs to today. Rest before you judge your life. Act where you can. Accept where you cannot. Laugh when possible. And close the mind at night. Because the mind, like the body, needs sleep. And perhaps that is why his ideas still feel so relevant. Human nature hasn't changed. We still worry too much. We still rehearse disasters. We still confuse exhaustion with failure. And we still forget that peace often begins, not with solving life, but with putting it down for the night.